Okay, over there. We are live. All righty. Hello, hello. Let me go ahead and go to the chat. Let's see. Roy and Becky Travels. Hello. Hello. How are you doing? You know, Smiley King. Hello. Michigan Outpost. Hello. Robert Sarabia. I'm sorry. Sarabia. Robert Sarabia. Hello. I hope I pronounced your last name correctly. But hello. Good to see you. Good to see you. Let's see here. Oh, can everyone hear me? 5x5, 5x5. Yes. Ooh, let's see here. You know, M9, hello. Good vibes. Yes, good vibes. You know, Prep Pat Jack. What's up, Prep Pat Jack? How's it going? Brenda, I've seen you before. How are you? Good to see you. All right, Roy and Becky Travels. Hey, oh, thank you so much. You know, we're going to get started in a little bit, give it a couple of more minutes. We have one of the premier, did I say premier? Premier preppers, survivalists and preppers in our green room right now. You know, and let me tell you about this guy, you know, Professor Jeremy. Let me tell you about him. He is so humble. It's like nerve-wracking. It's like, dude, you are awesome. But he is just so humble. And, you know, I think you guys are going to really enjoy him. Now, I was trying to put his, let me see, One WILDCRAFTER. I was trying to pop his channel as a pin, but I was unable to do so. Let's see if I can do that. Oh, wait a minute. Pin message. Okay, I don't know what that does. But can anyone tell me whether or not you see Professor Jeremy's pinned message? What I don't want to do is actually put myself on timeout. So hello, let's see who else is in here. Let's see. Second Star Survival. Oh my goodness, dude! I gotta call you, man. I spoke with you in a long time. You know. Oh, good to see you, brother. Good to see you, Jennifer, sister. God bless you. You know, Amy Shablin. How are you? Good to see you, Robert. That's right. Yep. I said hello to you already. You know. So let's see. It pinned his YouTube channel to the top. Woo! Good to go. And can someone just hit it and make certain that I posted it correctly, and then come on back? You know, I tell you, he can keep you over there. His videos are just off the chain. I tell you, it's good to go. Let's see here. Connie, hello. 5 versions prepper. Hello, how are you? I am invisible. Oh, okay. All right. You know, Bonnie, hello. So again, we have Professor Jeremy from One WILDCRAFTER on this channel here right now. I'm about to bring him in here, and the guy is phenomenal. And once again, he is a premier prepper, not just from the standpoint of one little community, but he is a premier prepper. He is a professor up in Canada. He's doing thesis right now. Woo! and hopefully we're going to be able to read his book very, very soon. What we're going to present today is a discussion about the big wild year. And I'm not going to let you guys know exactly what that is. Most of the time, probably you went over to his channel, but let's go. Oh, I'm so excited. Hello, Mrs. Prepping Plumber. All right. So without further ado, let's go ahead and bring in Professor Jeremy from One WILDCRAFTER. Hello.
Hello.
How are you?
Good. It's probably good that you had me locked up in the green room there so nobody could see me blushing during that introduction.
Well, it is true. It is all true and then some.
Well, thanks for saying so.
And for folks that have come in to watch this interview, I know that there are other preppers that are streaming right now, but you really can't do anything about it. You got to put your videos out when especially your guests are available, and this is it. So hello, Professor Jeremy.
Nice to be here.
Yeah, great. If you guys don't know about Professor Jeremy, if you watch some of the huge channels, is it okay if I mention a few?
Sure.
If you watch Zach Fowler Makery and Mischief, you'll see Jeremy on that, and he's always the well, I'm not going to even tell you what he is on those channels, but, but it's like, okay, Professor. If you watch one of the channels that actually he's YouTube inspiration for me when I started prepping, official prepping, and his name is The Wooded Beardsman. You'll see Jeremy on many of his adventures.
We do a lot of collaborations.
Yes, collaborations, and it's not that he's with Wooded Beardsman and Wooded Beardsman is they're together and they're collaborating. It is awesome. That backyard wildlife. Hello, sister. How are you? Good to see you. So here we are, Professor Jeremy. I'm so excited. First of all, sir, thank you so much. You've been on big, humongous, gargantuan channels, but yet I reached out to you and you said yes. So first of all, on not speaking for, but on the behalf of all the channels and all the folks that come watch Be Ready Today, we thank you.
You're very welcome.
It's
a pleasure to be here.
Yes, thank you so much. So let's go ahead and if you like what you see, and go ahead and thumbs up, subscribe to One WILDCRAFTER. In terms of survival, there are very few that compare. I'm just letting you know. There are very few that compare. Wooded Beardsman is up there. Zach Fowler's up there. These are the type of guys that Professor Jeremy from One WILDCRAFTER actually collaborates with, and so please go by his channel and subscribe. Okay, without further ado, if you have a question, we're going to do some questions that we have here. Go ahead and put the questions in bold, and just put question dash and then your question in bold. And we'll go ahead and try our best to ascertain the question. So let's go ahead and get ready.
I have a question.
Yes, sir.
How do you put a bold in the comments?
Oh, bold letter. Oh, you just do caps lock. Give you example. Caps lock. Hi, I have a question. Just like that.
Okay. Oh, you're going to shout them out. Okay.
Oh, yeah.
All right.
Monica, good to see you. Good to see you. And welcome for the subscribers from One WILDCRAFTER that might be in this channel, in this chat. Hello to you guys.
Yeah, I put a notice out there, so hopefully a few people have a chance to drop in. If they haven't seen too much of me, they'll be interested to hear about what I've been up to, and questions that you've got and that people have got about some of the things that I've been doing, including the big wild deer.
Absolutely. And be charming. You're right. It's caps, not bold.
Okay.
So, Professor, you're right. It's like, how do you put bold? I don't know. Maybe one day I'll try to figure it out.
Yeah, I didn't know if there was a sometimes you can do like HTML code and then stuff will come up differently. But
yeah, a prepping plumber. Good to see you. So, Jeremy, One Wildcrafter, tell us a little bit about yourself.
As you mentioned, I'm a college professor, so I'm very fortunate that I get to teach in an environmental program, which is where a lot of my passions lie. I am very outdoorsy, and I have been since I was a kid. I grew up in the country, so I've always been a camper and a wanderer and a hiker, and I just was fortunate about where I live that I could keep up those hobbies all through my adulthood. And I was thinking about this the other day. You know, it's a chance that as you age into your hobbies, you kind of advance them, but in a lot of ways, I feel like you know, when Chris the Wooded Beardsman and I were out a few weeks ago and we're building a stick fort in the woods, it's like we're 12 years old again, you know. So I don't know if my hobbies have aged that much, because a lot of the times I'm doing some of the things that are similar to when I was a kid. But I like hunting, I like fishing. I just recently got my trapping license, so I'm interested to learn a little bit about trapping and
Nice.
Practice those skills. I'm up in a winter wonderland. We got 6 inches of snow today on top of the 3 feet that we already had, and so I've been shoveling snow. I actually towed a broken down skidoo today.
Wow.
Somebody found that they were broken down on my road, and so I ended up towing them home. It's just kind of the types of things that happen around here. And
it's pretty cool.
And I like to eat a lot of wild food and forage. I'm pretty interested in wild mushrooms and kind of dabble in a little bit of everything, I guess. A little bit of homesteading. I've done a lot of hog butchering, which I haven't really gotten into the charcuterie, but I got to keep tabs on the salt cured pig, which is a salt curing of every part and piece of a pig that you can imagine. And I like all that kind of stuff.
That's really cool. I tell you, hello, Kelly Crochet Adventures. Hello, sister. Good to see you, and congrats. Let's see.
People are wondering, where I'm from. So I'm going to say Central Ontario. If you know where Toronto, Ontario is, it's our biggest city. So, another 3.5 or 4.5 hours north of there, depending on how fast you drive.
Yeah, and it's amazing because, they up in Quebec, and they deal with so much snow. If you go look at one of the most recent videos from One Wildcrafter, you'll see that he started a video as he was going to their fort that they built, and he's scraping things off of the back. You can see the camera, and it's kind of like this. And then when he goes and he removes the snow from the log, it's like 2 feet of snow, 3 feet of snow. So let's see. We ascertained a few questions right now before we get into the big wild year. Let's see. Wild edible knowledge. Someone had a question. Let's see about wild edibles. You know what? We're going to get to that in a moment. Please stand by because we're going to talk a lot about wild edibles.
Yeah.
Yo, yeah. So I watched your videos from the time you presented with your colleagues what you called the big wild year till when you finish up the big wild year. Tell us about it.
Okay.
What was the big wild year?
The big wild year was January 1st, 2019, all the way through 365 days until December the 31st of 2019. And it was all wild food we ate. I'm going to say we only ate wild food. But Ken Schatz is somebody who comments on my channels, and he's like, wow, there was that one time. So I'm almost entirely all wild food for 365 days. My girlfriend at the time and I, and along with that, because we knew that it would be an interesting project, we kind of did it to prove something to ourselves and to the world, but we also did physiological testing before, during, and after, and we did lots of blood testing before, during, and after. So through that whole process, we were able to see how our bodies were reacting to what ended up being a very significant lifestyle intervention, I would say.
Wow. And it's really amazing that you call it intervention. That is, and that's critical, because, and we'll talk a little bit more about that, hello, Van Life with Gina. Hello. Good to see you, sis. Oh, good to see you. Thanks for coming by. So, it's amazing because when people think about survival, and, they're prepping, and, I have canned foods and I have different varieties of things that's in my cupboard. And, so I'm thinking, okay, survive for XYZ amount of days. And, but it's amazing that you did the big wild year. Why? What were you thinking? I mean, where is this place?
So we had watched a couple of seasons of the Histories Channel series Alone, which probably a lot of prepper types would be familiar with. You've watched that?
Yes, I
TV
have.
show.
Yes.
So for anybody who hasn't watched it, the basic premise is you take participants who choose 10 items. They get dropped off in a remote wilderness location, which is varied from season to season, and they have to feed themselves until they get medically removed from the show, or until they crack under pressure, or they get sick, or they break a leg. There's all different reasons that people leave.
Yeah.
But typically, I would say people don't tend to last more than about 30 days. And often it's a food shortage that is a fair factor. The loneliness is obviously a big part of it. And so that led to a lot of discussions about why can't these people feed themselves for 30 days? And, why do they lose so much weight? Obviously, we all, not us particularly, but our ancestors all fed themselves, or we wouldn't be here today.
That's right.
And so, it just led to could a person in the modern context still feed themselves entirely off of wild food? Because we also know that there's fewer fish and fewer animals than there were historically, and smaller animals. It'd be easy if we could just go knock a mammoth over. You just eat mammoth steaks all day, every day, for a whole year. But we wanted to see if that was possible, and so we decided that we would do it. And we did some preparation leading up to that, and January 1st, we started. And what's interesting is it was really hard to kind of explain to people what we were doing. So you're eating a lot of bear meat and deer, that's interesting. Yeah, but we gave up caffeine because it's not wild, and we gave up alcohol because that's not wild, and we gave up potato chips and all those kinds of things. And then so the one aspect is what we ate, and then the whole other side of it is what we did not eat.
Right. Caffeine. Okay, hold on.
Toast to the caffeine.
That's amazing. You mentioned specifically about preparation. Hello, Cheryl. Cheryl from Michigan. Good to see you. Good to see you. I hope all is well. You talk specifically about prepping. How did you prep? I mean, 'cause this is 1 year.
Yeah. So I guess there's a couple different aspects to that. There was some just plain old planning about how we were going to get blood tests done and who's going to do physiological testing and some of those logistics. So that was part of our preparation. Another part of it was our skills. So fortunately, we did already have a very solid base of skills with hunt. We were skilled and equipped to hunt, fish, trap, collect.
Critical. Yeah.
Yeah. So we had the equipment, we had the know-how, but once we got into it, we realized that we didn't maybe know quite as much as we thought we did, and so there was a huge learning aspect as well. But prepping the skills, and then what we also did is in advance of the January 1st start, because that's basically the middle of winter for us and a really poor time to start with an empty fridge and freezer, is we stockpiled wild foods in advance. So, when January 1st hit, we already had dried wild mushrooms, we had frozen fiddleheads, we had frozen fish, we had two deer in the freezer, we had a bear, two and a half bears in the freezer, we had a couple raccoons. So we had a little bit of a stockpile to get us started.
Wow.
And then, so that was our main prep.
Yeah. Oh, outstanding. I got a message from Gina, Angler 2058. He's not showing up in chat. I don't know why. Yeah.
Angler 2058 has come over from my channel. So.
Oh my goodness, and he's been on my channel a lot, and I really appreciate him.
He's on both channels.
Yeah.
But he's locked out.
Oh, I'm hoping. Okay, I don't want to lose anything. Angler, let's see. As long as my moderators are here, please take care of Angler 2058 by putting his comments. And brother, sorry, I can't. I don't want to break anything to try to go into the studio and fix things. But let me see. Yeah, I don't, and I'm not that good with this StreamYard / studio. So I apologize. Please, Angler 2050, I will fix that. I don't know why you're not showing up.
I would say shut off your computer, restart it, click the link again.
Yeah. So where were we? We were talking about preparation. How else do you prepare? It's like when I think of a year, I can't even. Well, let me rephrase that. I was in the Air Force, and being stationed for a year at a particular station is, it takes a lot. I mean. Mm-hmm. Family, emotionally being away from TV. Yeah, when I was first put in Central America back in January of '83, I think January or February '83. All I know was hot, mm-hmm. And I was, you might almost, but it's like emotionally at that particular point, I wasn't really ready. I mean, I got ready, but how did you deal with that preparing emotionally?
Yeah, well, I think on the one hand, you can prepare for the knowns, and then you have to be able to prepare for the unknowns. And the only way you can really prepare for an unknown is to build a resilient character and a resilient attitude to look on the positive side of things, and to not see those little barriers in the road as as anything bigger than they actually are.
Yeah.
And we had each other's support. We had the support of our families, and we're really fortunate through the year too, because we tried to do this all on our own steam. So we were eating stuff that we collected ourselves, and at times when we couldn't keep up, or even just even when we had food, people were always offering us, I've got some caribou steaks, or I've got a little bit of extra moose meat, I've got this and that, and we were really fortunate and grateful to accept some food gifts from people as well. But I think we definitely had some low points, and just it's just kind of force of character, I think, is often what gets you through. And then that faith that you've got we weren't really prepared for that, but that faith that there's a community around you that's going to rise up and support you because they are interested in what you're doing, or they believe in what you're doing, and they believe in you, and they like you because they're part of your community. And so we were really grateful for that support as well.
Yeah, that's awesome. In the U.S. And just real quick, sorry, Angler 2050, we're going to get that fixed. I have somebody working on it right now. But in the U.S., in some cities or some states, that sense of community isn't there. Well, it might be there, but not to the point where people trust. To the point where they would share everything under the auspice of community. And I guess if you can explain a little bit in your community, how did that come about? Or, what type of community do you live in?
Well, my physical community is a small town where I was born and raised there. So I went to the school there. I had ties to different social groups there, I guess, and some of my oldest friends live there and still live there. My family's still there, so I have that community. I have like my network through work and social clubs that I belong to. We talked about opportunities to learn and about field naturalist organizations or mycological societies, and I had contact with a lot of those people. And then family near and far who either were cheering us on or who also are still traditionally harvesting and had food and advice for us, or invited us on hunting, fishing trips.
Yeah.
And then a huge YouTube community that I originally kind of felt like YouTube was a one-way street where I do stuff and then I kind of throw it out here for people to watch. But then through these kinds of interactions and comments on the channel, and people were really vested, and they people wanted to send me stuff from Australia or from the States, and there's just so many issues with food crossing the border. But people were willing to help out and engage and be in that whole project.
That's really awesome. The Ugly Prepper. Hello, how are you? Good to see you. Good to see you. So, we were talking a little bit about just your challenges, and yeah, I can imagine the difficulties within like a span of 365 days. If you can speak a little bit about the top 3 difficulties,
sure,
and tell us a little bit about those difficulties, and Professor Jeremy, school us.
Well, I think one of the biggest difficulties is that you almost invariably know less than you think you know, and
wow.
And then with that also is you tend to overestimate your ability. I think most people are guilty of that, and this was a real test of this. So I kind of felt like, well, I could go trap a raccoon any day of the week, and like I never go a deer season without getting my deer, but it happens. And we had some of those challenges where we thought that something would be easy because we've read about it or we've done it a little bit, but then when you have to do it a lot, it's almost insurmountable. Like I think maybe there's people who, I don't know if anybody out there has played around with making acorn flour. There's a whole process to it. You have to harvest the acorns and dry them, and then you have to leach the tannins out of them, and then you have to process them further and then make your flour, which then has to be frozen or dried, and then you can
Wow.
use it, which is one thing if you're like, oh, this is kind of cool, and I'll do it with a couple cups and see what happens. But then, we had 40, 60, 80 pounds of acorns. I didn't even have enough room in my house to put them all on trays to dry them. And then it's like, you got to dedicate a certain amount of time to cracking them all. And so those are just examples of things that, where we might have overestimated how easy something would be, and that it kind of,
Wow.
you get schooled pretty quick.
Wow.
Another big challenge would be working within the game harvest regulations. So, and tied into that, just the seasonality of a lot of foods that make up your important foods. So there are some things like, most people know that the cattail has an edible portion that can be harvested pretty much any season of the year. And for whatever reason, we just never really got out and harvested cattail. And the one time we tried it, it was so hard to dig them out of the ground, and we just kind of quit. But I can only get one deer license in a year. I can only get one bear license in a year. If I want to go, I don't know if people are familiar with rainbow smelts, but they're a small fish. Okay, so they run the creeks and the rivers at a certain time of year for about 3 or 5 days.
Oh, wow.
Within a certain number of hours of the day, which is in the middle of the night and is often freezing cold up here. And if you miss that smelt run, like you've just kind of lost a chance at one of your earliest spring foods for us, in a very narrow window. But it could be, I went out and I persistently checked for, I think it was 9 or 11 nights in a row that I basically was camped out checking on this smelt run, and I did fill a 5-gallon pail with smelts one night.
Wow.
So that was a big bonus. But if I would have missed that, like I kind of lost all my fishing opportunities for the whole month of April, even actually through till May. A lot of our fishing seasons don't open until May or June. So the seasonality was a huge factor, and something that people don't take into account, or they just assume that if they were going to do something like this, it's the end of the world and there's no laws anyway. But that might not be the case. It could be, it could be a job loss. It could be just a personal situation, and you're going to fall back on your apocalypse plan, but the rest of the world is still running, and you've got to follow the rules. So that was a challenge.
Yeah,
as well.
Those are three. I mean, those are just things that some of us just think about, and we plan for, a week or so, but you went through it.
Yeah.
You really went through it. So with that, you went and you kept within the law.
Yes.
Why? Yeah, that's a silly question, isn't it?
Because I don't want to go to jail. On top of that, if you break fish and game laws in Canada, they also can remove your right or your privilege to hunt and fish for 5 years or for life, and take your truck and your boat. And also, I just believe in conservation and game laws. And our project was really about, like, in the modern context, could somebody just choose to live off of just wild food? Although I definitely receive comments from time to time from people who are like, this is really important, and you should be allowed to just poach things because it's like survival. And I just have to say, it's not like survival, because we can stop at any point. We're not stranded, we're not broke, we're not desperate. Like, we're two pretty privileged people taking on an amazing project, but that doesn't really give us any kind of a right to break the laws.
That's interesting, because I mean, if you really, if one thinks about it, if there was a situation where, recently, we had this, we're still in the pandemic situation, and but if there was, let's say, something else that transpired where there was an apocalyptic say that 3 times fast. type of environment, I can easily imagine a person's area being fished out or
Oh yeah.
hunted out, or
It doesn't even have to be an apocalypse, Brian. There are so many people fishing right now in my area because
wow.
they're unemployed and they love to fish, or because they're unemployed and they're hungry, or they can't fly to Cancun for a month for holidays, so they're going to take up snowmobiling and ice fishing. Like I don't know what all the factors are driving it, but there are so many more people fishing right now than previously. That's my impression.
Wow. Hello, Colin from Kincaid Outdoors. Hello, and Jefferson Martial Arts. Hello, and Michelle from Texas. Good to see you. Hope all is well. And well, I had a situation. I was in Central America, and there was something that was happening within Central. I was in Panama, and basically, I was under the confounds of an Air Force base, but the local people had a situation where all the stores were closed, and this was for several weeks. And the good news is in Panama, I was on base housing. I had a humongous mango tree behind me. I had banana trees, and pineapples, and it's really amazing that in different countries and in different environments or different hemispheres, the variety of foods that one can actually use in a situation, and of course, the fishing in Panama was phenomenal. But that's really interesting. Let's see, Grace Martin. Hello, good to see you. Michigan Outpost has a question. That's why the natives migrated, to allow the land to rejuvenate itself. Yes. Yeah.
Oh. And in my area, I was just talking to a fellow about this recently. Your food supplies are your seasonal food supplies are always in a different location. So in the winter, you move and you live on a hunting ground. Then in the spring or the summer, you're moving to other food supplies, which is maybe fishing, or you're moving to an area with more wind and less biting insects, and that that seasonal migration definitely allowed things to rejuvenate behind you.
Yeah, there's a channel that I guess I'll shout her out, and Quebec Homestead, and I've known Mal on YouTube for a number of years before she was actually as large as she is. If anyone wants to go check that out, Quebec Homestead. But on one of her live streams, she mentioned about, because she's in Panama. I'm sorry, correction. She's in Quebec. She's in Canada, in Quebec. But she mentioned that the growing seasons are very, very short, and so she's a homesteader. And yes, she's working toward permaculture, and so and that's another skill that you spoke of, that you had, that's phenomenal. How would somebody even begin to even prepare, not necessarily for a big wild year, but just how would someone prepare to take care of their family in the event of a crisis?
Well, I think, oh gosh, how much time do we have?
As long as you have. I got to be to work at 7:30 tomorrow morning. So
okay. Oh, we got 11 and a half hours. I think, I think for most people, the first step is really just setting food aside, like the normal food that you get from your grocery store, and pre-buying it. Like, my thing is I buy stuff when it's on sale, and I figure out how long it's good for before it expires, and then I'll buy, if it's peanut butter and it's good for a year, I'll buy a whole year's supply of peanut butter at the sale price, and then I don't buy peanut butter for a year, and then I've saved money, and I've got, if it came down to it, maybe I have to bug in for 30 days. I just eat peanut butter all the time until it runs out. So having some food set aside. And then I think there are lots of opportunities to, it's not easy to garden. I think it sounds like that's one of those things where, I for sure always felt like it was easy to garden because my family always gardened. But then I have a garden in my backyard and it's garbage. There are some things that I can't grow. Part of it's the soil, and part of it is neglect, and I don't know what else. But just to practice those things, whether that's container gardening on a porch or on a windowsill, you can grow tons of salad greens on a windowsill. Yeah. And the things that you'll learn by doing that are really amazing. Figuring out what your foolproof crops are. So, what do they say? 100-foot row of raspberries would yield about 100 quarts of raspberries over a season.
Wow.
And you can't even kill them once you get them started. Rhubarb, I don't know if people grow rhubarb down there, but or asparagus. Once you get those crops started, like you almost can't kill them off once they take off. And if you are somewhere where you can grow a mango tree, up here it would be apples. It would be cold hardy apples.
Yeah.
I'm in like a zone 3B. I don't know if people know their growing zones, but I've had a year where we had a killing frosting every month of the year, which is not normal. We don't normally get a frost in June, July, and August, but it happened one year. So we have a pretty short season. Our winters can get down to -40 on occasion, which is the same as -40 Fahrenheit. -40 and -40 line up. It's more normal. We get down to like -30 Celsius pretty much every winter. So there are some permanent crops that just can't survive that. Like you can plant pear trees, most of them will die. They might grow in the summer, they look fine, but they're not really hardy to that temperature. So you got to know what grows best in your zone.
Wow. Yeah. I'm in a zone 5B. And I think most of us in this community, more than likely, they'll be able to tell you what zone. There's a channel, that I have come to know. And this young lady is doing some really phenomenal things. It's a very small channel, but for growing vegetables in the backyard. The channel is called That Backyard Wildlife, HWGAC, and she just started the channel. However, Star is a phenomenal gardener, and so go ahead and check that out, folks, if you really would like to know a lot more about gardening. It's just phenomenal. And so what, out of all of the knowledge that you have, and it's really the comment that you made for me that blares out the most in terms of lessons learned, is if you think you know what you're doing, practice, because more than likely you don't.
Yeah.
What were the 3 main lessons that you learned? It doesn't, anything, it's like, don't stub your toe while walking through the woods.
Yeah. Well, so funnily enough, I was picking mushrooms and I ran into a guy, and this is the middle of the summer, right? And he was wearing ski goggles, like he was going to go downhill skiing. And I was like, oh, great. Like, here's a weirdo. But he'd actually tripped and smashed his face on a rock, and he was all stitches and all swollen, but he wasn't going to quit mushroom hunting. So after he was done at the hospital, he got a big pair of goggles so that no twigs would poke him, because he basically was blind on one side temporarily. So he was hardcore about that. But I would say, like, top lessons. So seasonality is the biggest one. Like, everything's got a season in wild food and in gardening, and you have to deal with that food in that season, or you've just blown your whole year for that food crop. So if you're not there to can your tomatoes at the end of the season and before the frost hits, or before they get overripe or get rotten, like you just wasted all the time you put into growing them. Along with that, you have to have the equipment to deal with the food that you're planning on putting by. So whether that's like water bath canners and jars and lids and all those kinds of things, which are in short supply during COVID up here, and I imagine that's the same down there. It's hard to get some of that equipment now.
Yeah, it is. And as part of our community, we have a lot of what's called boondockers, where that's just a term that we use, but van life RVers, such as, Van Life with Gina. Folks, if you want to see someone that is surviving in a van, check out Van Life with Gina. My moderators of these channels that I'm mentioning, if you can, please, if you're still here, go ahead and put some of these channels out there for me. But like with Van Life with Gina, she lives in actually it's a step van that was converted to an RV. And it's a phenomenal channel. Go ahead and check it out, folks, if you haven't already. But in that case, someone who is mobile like that, or living in an RV, some of the lessons learned that you have, how can they actually use those in their situation? I aspire one day to be in an RV, and my wife not so much, but living the life and driving the coast, hopefully coming up to Canada one day. But for someone who is living that way, how can that, how can what your experiences help someone, because there are a lot of people that are actually, there's one channel, I don't know the channel's name right now, but he's in a situation where he's in someone's mobile home and he lost his apartment, but how can someone, in a mobile home or a boondocker, use what you have provided in your big wild year to help them not only prepare but sustain?
Yeah, I guess for somebody like that, one of the things that I learned in the big wild year is that unless you're living hand to mouth, there's actually quite a bit of equipment involved in gathering, processing, and storing food. So, I live in a small house and I hardly have space for, my tents and sleeping bags, my pressure canner, my water bath canner, my jars, and then, storing full jars and then keeping all my empty jars somewhere. That kind of stuff is intensive. So if you're traveling fast and light, maybe you want to focus on things like fishing, because fishing is universal. There's very few places where you can't fish, and fishing licenses tend to be very cheap relative to hunting licenses, I guess. And then you can still fit a lot of dry foods in a van or a tiny home, or if you if you have a dehydrator. Your dashboard is actually one of the most fabulous dehydrators that you can use if you don't mind having little slices of fruits and mushrooms all over your dashboard. But you can dry tons of food in your vehicle and then store it in airtight containers. And so there's ways that you can adapt.
Wow. Do you do any? I'm sorry. Go ahead, sir.
Well, I just was going to say that these people who live on like sailboats and in RVs and stuff are amazingly space efficient, but you can't really get a water bath canner any smaller than 20 quarts or whatever size they are, right? They're just some things that they're big no matter what. Yeah.
Do you do any pressure canning, like in terms of like you can get the pressure canners, basically it's a pressure cooker that's can accommodate 8 1 quart bottles, and do you do any of that?
I only recently started.
If not, why?
I never did before, just because I wasn't canning the kinds of things that you need a pressure canner to can, which is mostly meats.
Mm-hmm.
And but I got to thinking about how everything I have meat-wise is stored in a freezer, and it's not really a great idea to have a single point of storage for anything you have. And I also heard amazing things from people about how good canned fish and canned meat was. And so this past year or the year before maybe are the first times that I've really experimented with pressure canning.
Wow. Oh, hello, Be Amazing Sylvia. Good to see you. Not so remote Alaska. Hello, good to see you. Let's see. One of the things that my wife and I have been, thinking about, from the standpoint of just, having the quilts and everything to, to be warm out, if we're camping, is, you may see a crochet community coming in. We have one particular channel here, Kelly Crochet Adventures, and she is a phenomenal crocheter. And if anyone doesn't, if you haven't checked out Kelly Kelli Crochet Adventures, go ahead and check her out. She has a wonderful crochet channel. But you say to yourself, crochet, survival, camping. Do you see any a use for crocheters? The big quilts, especially in the environment that you are.
Yeah, I think any of those hand skills are serve a lot of different purposes. So they're a lot of people have taken up crocheting and knitting in what are we calling it, the COVID times, like when people are stuck at home and they're finding time for the hobbies that they've always been interested in. And I'm kind of a fan of using what you have. So you can go out and spend ridiculous amounts of money on all kinds of specialized gear to do all kinds of things, but you don't need a sleeping bag if you're going camping. You could easily have a crocheted blanket, or you combine different blankets and sheets that you have from home and you fold them over or whatever. You don't have to have an ultralight down sleeping bag to be comfortable when you camp. In fact, sometimes having a nice big blanket that you can throw over two of you is far more comfortable than squeezing into little sleeping bags.
Yeah, my wife, I took her camping because I've been in the wilderness, I guess you can call it. Not necessarily what you do in the cold, but in the jungle. Not much, but a little bit. And there it's not as you don't necessarily need something to cover you up. But I took my wife camping this past October. We celebrated our anniversary in a campground, and that was like really her first time in a sleeping bag. And I don't know. I call it glamping, camping with glamping, because we had a mattress, blow up mattress.
Nice.
But in terms of she loved her sleeping bag, and she had her own sleeping bag. We've been married 25 years, so she's like, I'm gonna sleep over here. So she had her own sleeping bag, and she slept on the big mattress, that blow up mattress, and my two dogs, my two canines slept up there with her, and I was on the floor with a little blow up mattress that's like an inch.
Yeah, that's all you need sometimes.
Yeah, and I was comfortable, and it was pretty cool, And so let's see who else is doing. Michelle H. Hello, good to see you. I think I that's right. This is the first time I've seen you. Hello, good to see you again. Love van life with Gina. Hubby and I survived and stayed very comfy in our van home this weekend. Awesome. Thank you, for sharing, because Texas had, oh my goodness, for a place that averages, 30, maybe 40, 30 degrees in the winter, they got hit hard.
Yeah.
They got hit hard. So, and we were praying for them, but, oh, but my goodness, though, it's hubby and I to survive, that's something. Do you have, because I know a lot of folks that I watch are driving up to Canada in their RVs. But the weather there, do you have anyone that's like living in mobile homes, or, I mean, do you know of anyone that is successfully living in RVs or mobile homes? And after hearing that you get 6 feet of snow, I mean, it's like, oh, God.
Yeah, I don't personally, but I know a few years ago there was a student at the college that was living out of their vehicle by choice through the winter, and so I know that it can be done, and they have their vehicle outfitted. I think they maybe had like a vent in their van so they could have a heater running inside or something. And it wasn't an RV or like a super fancy setup. It was like a minivan with a bed. So I know it can be done, but I don't personally know anybody who is living in an RV or a mobile home or a van. But people do it, especially if you've got propane heating. It's just like living in a small house, right?
Yeah.
Except it's easier for the water lines to freeze here. That would be the big. You'd have to insulate all the bottom or something. I don't know.
Yeah. We have a channel that we subscribe to, and it's a wonderful channel called Weekend RVing. It's a wonderful channel, and they have a van, they have an RV, but recently they put out a video. I think it was today. Weekend RVing, if you get a chance. But they're I guess they didn't have the skirts on their RV, and they had their water main freeze. And so, I mean, that it's crazy, but it can really happen.
Yeah,
it can really truly happen. In terms of, I guess, in terms of having prepared for the big wild year, how can someone take some of those lessons learned and apply that to, I don't know, maybe another type of, and we're all preparing for crisis, I guess. I don't know. I mean, there's a crisis, and crisis has, a crisis will have basically different levels. Crises, I don't know, have different levels. The professor, please, don't grade me for my grammar.
No.
So what lessons can we take, to apply that to being prepared for another crisis that can potentially happen? I mean, you just never know. I mean, in the U.S., this crisis that happened, and then the world, I mean, who would have thought? Well, I'm from New York, and they say, who would have thunk it?
Yeah.
That
we say that too.
Okay.
Yeah. Who'd have thunk it?
Who would have thunk it that we had 7-8 billion people at any given time, which the media said, on lockdown because of a pandemic.
Yeah.
I mean,
except people have been saying that it would happen like for decades, right? But then it just didn't seem like it ever would.
Yeah.
And someone was telling me they heard an interview with a virologist, and he said there's a 100% chance that this will happen again in the next 20 years.
Yeah. Yeah. How can we prepare for it? I mean, do we get a friend that knows mushrooms? I know you have a friend, Stephen Funfer. I don't know if he has a channel, but I know he
has a very active Instagram.
I've seen
a lot of short videos and posts. Yeah.
And so guys, if you want to check out Stevie Funfer, it's Stevie Fun, Fun Fur, Fur.
Yeah, with an underscore in between.
Oh, underscore.
Yeah, Stevie _ Fun Fur.
Yes, he's been on collaborations with Professor Jeremy from One WildCrafter, and
Mhm.
the guy is phenomenal with identifying mushrooms. You know, it's like this boom. And the reason why I'm saying that is, should we go ahead, and I guess it's a part of our community, getting our community activities in line with people that can bring more than just building a shelter. And this is real talk. This is like such as like Stevie, Funford in his situation where he can, I've watched a lot of videos with him from your big wild deer,
Yeah.
how important would that be to have someone like that, or a discipline in the community that you would align yourself with?
Yeah, I think it's always good to have those kinds of people, right? Like a community takes all kinds of people, and they don't necessarily have to be skilled survivalists. You need your cheerleaders, you need your soothers, you need your confiders and your healers, and it takes all kinds. And really, I think, like, as far as mushrooms go, they're very tasty and they're very satisfying, and it's always like an Easter egg hunt when you go picking wild mushrooms. But they're, as far as food value, I think they're fairly low.
Oh.
Most of them are fairly low return. Unless you get out and you're in a good spot for morels or for boletes. Like, some of those mushrooms you can pick, hundreds of pounds in a season, and then it's worth the trouble. But as far as like preparedness skills, there are so many good hobby skills that you can have that you maybe only have a chance to do them a couple weekends a year, but you figure out all the basics, and then those skills are always there if you need them. Fishing and hunting, gardening, cooking from scratch, like, these are all fairly easy things. They're fairly low barrier to get into. And the problem with all of them is they can all cost as much as you want to spend on them, or they can all cost as little as you want to spend on them. And I've always kind of been a fan of, like, I'm in my 40s, and I just bought my first new rifle of my whole life. Like, I always made do with less expensive stuff from gun shows and things before, and same with fishing rods. I hardly ever have bought much new stuff, and I think you just got to make sure that you don't create a financial crisis, preparing for your imagined crisis that may or may not happen.
Yeah,
because we all have a fear, right? And I think the other thing is to not let fear guide your preparations, because it's too easy. Like, let's say Y2K, right? Probably most of us were around in Y2K. I was 21 years old. I was a kid, and I thought, holy, this is going to be it. So, like, my idea of preparing for Y2K is every week I would go and buy a brick of 22 shells.
Yeah.
There's 500 in a brick.
Yeah.
I didn't buy any seeds. I didn't buy, like, an extra set of outdoor clothes. I didn't buy a nice axe. Like, that was a dumb thing to buy in hindsight, and it was just a fear response. I dug into my my cabinet at my parents' place where I had a bunch of stuff the other day, and I started pulling out all this 22 ammunition. I'm like, I've got 3,500 rounds of 22 ammunition. Like,
you can't eat that.
You can't eat it. I mean, it only cost me about $80 back in 1999. Like, it was so cheap relative to now, and that's Canadian dollars, so that's like half of American dollars.
Yeah.
It's so cheap, and I probably have 22 to last me for the rest of my life. So it wasn't a mistake, but it wasn't the right. It wasn't. That was a fear prep, and that was not wasn't like a healthy prep or a suitable prep or an effective prep, really. And so, I think it's too easy to get amped up about certain preps, and really there's much gentler ways that are much more effective.
Yeah.
And those are things like growing your own food and
right.
building friendships and community, and soft skills.
Right.
I
Hello,
think.
Gray Man Prepper. Hello, good to see you, Cuba. And Whitewater Crafting. Good to see you. Really great. So here's a situation. So here's like I guess we're about to go into a post-pandemic society, and so
Hopefully.
yeah, hopefully, and everyone knows here that Be Ready Today doesn't speak about politics, and so if you put a political question, a political statement or something like that, my moderators will remove it. Okay. But question for you: in this post-pandemic world, how can someone prepare right where they are? Some people may or may not have the area for a garden, or some people may or may not have, I don't know, wilderness skills, but they need to prepare. How can someone do that, like prepare right where they are right now?
Well, I mean, when I was in university, I had a bachelor apartment, and by the time I had my desk and my bed and whatever else in there, I had about 4 square feet of floor space left. And I clearly remember napping glass arrowheads on the floor and practicing bow drill fires. I think there's always an opportunity to do something. So it's really about using your imagination. I mean, if you can't find something to do where you are, then you need to go back to square one and work on those resilient character traits that are going to allow you to face barriers later on. So, if you can't grow food, then you should maybe best learn how to buy extra food on a budget, and what food that you're actually going to eat. I cringe when I see people buying these boxes of MREs. Yeah, they'll last for 10 years, but are you ever going to eat them?
Yeah.
Mind you, if you go and buy extra peanut butter and rice and flour, and those are things you cook with anyway, then I think that, those are all good. Another thing, if you're totally restricted for space, it doesn't hurt to get a couple of good resources and read.
Yes.
You can learn a lot of edible plant identification just walking around on your city streets.
Yeah.
You can map out fruit trees, nut trees in your neighborhood.
Yeah.
I know there are, in some of the bigger cities, there are, I forget the name of them, but they're like groups that will go and pick all the fallen apples and then make applesauce and give them to homeless shelters. Like there are people who are.
That's right. Yeah. Yeah.
There's food everywhere. Keep a pair of chickens or a couple of rabbits. You can actually raise rabbits indoors, but then they're very much like pets, which is a problem. But if raising a pet rabbit is probably a super good intro if you ever had to raise 50 outdoors.
Yeah.
For meat, you've got them all figured out from having one as a pet. There's so much that people can do.
Yeah. Hello, Prepper Nation, brother. How are you, brother John? In the house, this guy. If you everyone that's on this channel probably knows about Prepper Nation. This guy is phenomenal. He's the one who launched. He's one of 2, 3, 4. I don't know, a lot of channels that launched Be Ready Today the way I am, and gave me a lot of encouragement. So thank you,
Nice.
Prepper Nation, for for being here. That's wonderful. One of the things that I would love to do in my county, I think I can have a small chicken coop, but I found out recently that I can do that. However, I have 2 German Shepherds, and they're hard to clean up behind. I know one day I'll have a meat bird. What is it? Yeah, meat bird coop.
Yeah.
I've been watching Greg Ovens, Ovens, Rocky Mountain,
Survival or
Survival.
yeah.
Oh my goodness, I don't. Oh, Greg, if you're watching, forgive me. But he's another person that's in Canada, right? Greg is in Canada, isn't he?
Just sorry, yes, he is. He's in British Columbia.
Yeah, British Columbia, and he phenomenal. I mean, he is the ultimate mountain man. But he had a coop that he just showed a series on, and Meatbird, but he showed so much compassion because he had a chicken by the name of Hopalong.
Oh, I've heard a story about Hopalong.
Yeah, he had like a gimp foot, and so he decided not to eat Hopalong. So Hopalong was brought to greener pastures, the farm. But I wish I were able to do that. And my wife, Lord bless her, she doesn't. We're both from the city, and she's like, Brian, where is this stuff coming from? So I want to be ready today. I would love to have a chicken coop with
yeah.
You
know what, Brian? Like, chickens are not within reach for a lot of people, but having a little dovecote in the backyard, like, so easy to keep a little flock of pigeons or doves. And they're like municipalities that ban poultry often do not ban doves and pigeons, and that's another way to get eggs or quail. I just met a guy recently who keeps quail, and he said for the amount that you feed them and the weight of their eggs, they're way more efficient than chickens.
Oh wow!
Their eggs are itty bitty, but the birds are itty bitty and they don't eat a lot, and they take up like very small space.
Yeah. And do they reproduce? I mean,
Yeah, you can hatch them out. You can just get a little incubator. Incubators are fairly inexpensive, and they're tons of fun. If you don't want to incubate eggs, find a grade school teacher who will do it as a class project.
Oh, wow.
Because I know in Canada, it's in the curriculum. It's like every grade 3 class or every grade 1 class hatches out eggs, but they need to find somebody who's going to take those chickens after, right? So, so those are opportunities.
Yeah, and that's knowledge. And that is awesome. Hello, Brian. Good to see you. And I saw someone else that came in. Bull Moose. Hello. Good to see you. Good to see you. Guys, for the folks that have come in, we are speaking to Professor Jeremy from One WildCrafter. The guy is, oh my goodness. Go check his channel out. It's pinned on the top. I was able to pin it. And we're just talking about the big wild year where Professor Jeremy basically prepared and lived on wild food for 1 year. Phenomenal, great series. And if you haven't already, subscribe to his channel and go ahead and watch his playlists. And so it's phenomenal. Sir, I know we've been on for an hour. I hear your phone ringing. Do you have to answer that?
Not my phone.
It's not. Oh, okay. I do hear something ringing. Well, that's weird. Maybe. Oh, let me turn this mic off for a second. Oh, maybe. Oh, it might. Oh, it might be my wife in the other room. She is monitored. Well, I tell you, we've been on now, and if you have any questions, there was a question that I'm going to field, and Professor, if you don't want to answer it, I understand. The question was about the vaccine. Now, I'm not going to field any political questions, but as your knowledge, what do you feel? What do you think about the vaccine that's coming out?
Which vaccine?
The right, the COVID-19 vaccine.
Are there six approved COVID vaccines now or more? Like China's got one. There's Pfizer. There's Moderna. There's 2 being approved in Canada.
Johnson and Johnson had,
Johnson and Johnson has one.
Yeah. So, what do you think?
And this is my own personal opinion. And based on the bit of data that I've read so far, which is that I don't know that the vaccines stop the spread, but I think they reduce the symptoms. That's my understanding.
Correct.
So COVID is with us forever. It's like influenza.
That's right.
We don't have a vaccine for influenza. We don't have a 100% effective vaccine against influenza. It has to be tailored to the strains that they partly know and partly guess will be in circulation from year to year. And so, I just imagine that it'll be like the influenza, the way that we've come to accept influenza as part of our life and vaccination system. We just have to get over the novelty and the newness and the scariness of COVID, and that's where we'll probably eventually be. But that being said, COVID is much more virulent. It spreads much easier than influenza.
Yeah.
And so people have to be aware of that and understand that. If we stop distancing and isolating and masking and all those kinds of things, it's going to spread very, very quickly.
Yeah, and I know that some people here, some people are proponents of masking and opponents of masking. And just to let you know, folks, we are not talking political. We have an opinion, and respect the opinions of everyone. Let's see. Hello, Ken B. Hello, good to see you. Kelly, hello. I think I said hello to you, Kelly, but if not, hello, good to see you. Laura Lee, hello, good to see you again. Great to see you. And we're just talking specifically to Professor Jeremy from One WildCrafter. Go ahead and check his channel out and just run his playlist. You will learn so much from these guys. As a matter of fact, I know my channel subscribers, my channel members know this, but I am I think most folks that watch me on a regular basis knows that I will be releasing in the near future a video about building a shelter. And I got the concept from collaborations with Professor Jeremy from One WildCrafter. So, nice. Go ahead and check him out. Let's see. Proponents of mask if I'm entering someone's storefront, etc. Opponent of mask when walking outside in the street in a free America. Hey, that's right. You got it's your personal opinion. And it's a personal opinion and a personal choice. And it's just like the vaccine. And so, let's see.
Yeah, we don't have outdoor masking in Canada. Huh. It's all indoors. It's like mandatory indoors now, basically. Yeah. I don't know. Maybe that's a state-by-state thing.
O'Brien asks, anything big in the works with Chris soon? Wooded Beardsman.
Yeah, we're trying to put together a trapping trip. So we were going to do some underwater snares for beaver and some other trapping. So we're just looking for a place to do that because I have permission to trap on one property, and I just yesterday went and scouted it all out, and the beavers don't seem to be there. So I'm just looking for another spot.
Oh, wow.
And there's Quebec Homestead.
Hey, Quebec Homestead, how are you? Great to see you. I believe you said just saw Colin's tweet. Oh, Colin, great to see you. Great to see you. Great to see you. So in terms of speaking of Quebec Homestead, so your homestead, because I know at one point, one of your videos recently, you said that you're really not doing too much on the homestead front. How so?
I'm like a seasonal homesteader. I'm getting some feedback.
Uh-oh.
Did you just do something with your mic?
No, something actually popped up on my screen.
Oh, okay. We're all good. I don't get the feedback now.
it needed an X. Hold on, stand by 1 second. I don't know what's going on. I needed to X out. Okay, how about now? Can you hear?
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm a seasonal homesteader, so I stepped back from most of my homestead. I kind of say I'm on a borrowed homestead because I do all my homesteady stuff at my parents' place, which is nearby to my place.
Cool.
So that's where there's the big garden, and I do like the firewood cutting, and there's a pond that I'd like to dig. That's where I do tap maple trees and do maple sugar, and that's where all the chickens are. Which I really try and manage the outdoor chicken end, and in the winter, I'm pretty happy to not be doing too much with the chickens. So I'm kind of a seasonal homesteader. And I'm a little bit confused too when people talk about homesteading versus like country life. I think a lot of homesteading is just living in the country, but I guess it's the growing your own food aspect, which I kind of dabble in. So I actually used to live on a farm, and I have I've raised pigs, lambs, chickens.
Wow.
When I was a kid, we raised rabbits. When I was growing up at my parents' place, we had a few cattle. So I've done different aspects of all that. I really like, probably pigs are my favorite.
Wow.
Because they're kind of the tastiest. And I like butchering. I like the whole process of like, putting aside all your own cuts that you want, and so I've done quite a bit of that as well.
Wow. We have a question here from Laura Lee. Which province are you in? Maybe I missed that.
Oh, in Ontario, sort of central Ontario, 3 or 4 hours north of Toronto. Awesome. I'm wondering where Quebec Homestead is, because that's my neighbor province.
Well, Mal, you might, if you want to share, Mal, go ahead. I think I know, but
she said she's got some nuisance beavers. I'm just wondering if it's within driving distance or not.
Yeah. Hello, Food Forest Permaculture. How are you? Good to see you in our chat, in our stream here. And so how do chickens take care of themselves in the winter? I guess. Well, I don't know, but because I'm from the big city, and to your point, I have family in the southern areas of the U.S., and my wife has family in the western part of Virginia, not West Virginia, but the western part.
Yeah.
And, I used to go down when I was a child, to Georgia, and it wasn't uncommon to eat the bacon that was slaughtered on, I guess slaughtered, or I don't know, but, on the farm. And and my wife's folks, which are now my family, you go out there and it's just they grew their own food, they canned, they had the rotating crop, and it wasn't necessarily called homesteading. It's just
living. Yeah. That reminds me of an earlier question you had about what people can do where they are.
Yes.
And I think a really important thing that people can do is to support somebody who's doing what they want to do, because those people who are growing real food on real farms need real customers. That's what supports resilient agriculture and local food and builds food security. And through those relationships, you might also get an opportunity to visit a farm, to help on a farm. They're just it's just another opportunity to build your knowledge and your skills.
And that's awesome. Volunteering, helping, and there's, and I just love the prepper community, in that most of us that are in the prepper community, there is a reciprocity, where and that's basically what you're talking about is that's something that we can do. It's like, okay, I can help you, and I can learn from you, just like you can help me and you can learn from me. And, that's really good for some people that, not just prepping and homesteading or survival but that can apply to people that don't necessarily have income right now or jobs. If you want to learn a particular skill, Professor Jeremy was talking earlier about going to, some of the groups. There's a group of field naturalists, I think it is, to learn how to, and don't think that Be Ready knows this, because I learned this from Professor Jeremy, but the field so predominantly, correct me if I'm wrong, Professor, bird watchers, but they also know about, the ecology of things, but we can, we can volunteer, and some people have volunteered themselves into a better career, just by doing that, let's see, food, forest, permaculture. Well, Be Ready Today. Wishing you the best. Thank you kindly for this awesome live stream. So many cool fellow Earthlings. Welcome. Blessings. Good to see you. Good to see you. Quebec's Homestead says, just grabbed you, One Wildcrafter, my kind of channel.
Awesome. We're gonna look you up after.
Yes, Amy, hello. I have another grandpa. I had another grandpa that grew peanuts in East Texas. Wow. I had my first opportunity with eating grown peanuts, other than, I say grown peanuts like they're adults, but I guess adult peanuts. But when I was in Georgia as a child, I had no idea how they harvested peanuts, but I had great peanuts, I'm talking, ooh, my goodness.
Yeah, well, when I was in Virginia a few years ago, I was under the impression that Virginia was kind of famous for growing peanuts, and because there certainly seemed to be a lot of them branded in the stores there. And
Virginia, I guess some in the West, the west part of Virginia, they're known for a lot of things, peanuts and fruit and pigs. We have
that's where the charcuterie tradition really kind of began in Virginia, didn't it?
I believe so. There's a significant distributor called Smithfield. I think it's like one of the largest producers of pork products in the nation.
Oh.
But it's in Virginia. I want to say Smithfield. I don't remember. I don't necessarily remember what it is. Carl's off the grid. Hello, good to see you. Good to see you. Well, we might be wrapping it up in a couple of minutes. Thank you so much for joining this live stream. If you haven't already, realize Smithfield is in North Carolina too. Oh yeah, good. Oh, great. I actually had an opportunity to apply for a contract at their IT support here in Virginia, Smithfield. Yes.
Oh.
I'd wind up taking another position, but if you haven't already, please check out Professor Jeremy's One Wildcrafter channel. I tell you this, he has maybe 23,000. In my opinion, and this is just my little, 2,700 subscribers. This is my opinion. Based on the content and based on the knowledge of this young man here, going out with these humongous channels, he should have 1 million. He should have 1 million subscribers. And so go ahead, check his channel out, subscribe. You will learn so much. And he is such a humble person. And you see what you see on camera right now. Go watch his channel. Go watch his channel.
Thanks, Brian.
He's like this. But please go ahead and check out One Wildcrafter. and check out some of the things that he's doing over there. I'm certain that you would learn a lot. Brian says, I believe Smithfield and Purdue are now owned by, investors are investors.
Yeah.
So Professor Jeremy, what else? So what do you have going on for the future? I mean, I know you talk specifically about doing something with Chris from Wooded Beardsman.
Yeah.
What do you have going on in the future, and what could we be looking forward to?
Well, probably do a few more food prepping videos, because I had a couple of ideas to kind of put to video and share. I've got maple syrup season is starting in just a few weeks, so I'll probably be doing some tours of the sugar bush. And I've been saying this for 2 years now, but I have to build a proper maple sugar house to go over my evaporator and my equipment. Oh. So right now it's under an A-frame tarp, which is a sad situation. And so I think a build video is going to be in the future. I really need to tackle that. I've got some collaborations coming up with the Wooded Beardsman. Hoping to maybe reach out to a couple of other YouTubers. Travel's a big thing right now, so it's hard to go places and do stuff. But a bit of that. I might do a spring bear hunt. People seem to really love my bear hunting, bear butchering videos. So I feel like I should get a few of those out, just because the demand is there.
Yeah.
What else have I got going on? I've been snaring too many rabbits. I think I'm done with rabbit snaring videos.
Oh, what is it? A snowshoe
hares? Yeah.
Yes, snowshoe hares.
Yeah, but maybe a little more, a bit more trapping. I see a question about trees, so I'll probably tap 100 trees. I was trying to buy like 10 or 20 new buckets every year, but I think everything's in short supply this year, because a lot of people are doing home hobby stuff. So probably about 100. I'm still doing it all by hand. I don't have a snow machine. It's all like snowshoes and buckets, carrying them around or dragging a sled. So I can't upscale too much unless I go to the tubing. I don't know if people are familiar, but you can run tubes from tree to tree to tree to tree to tree, and then have that tube line feed into a main line that dumps into your storage tank, as opposed to having the buckets where it drips in the bucket and then you empty the buckets manually.
Yeah.
I don't like the look of tubing in the bush, though. I like the look of a forest as a forest, and I just like that the buckets are there, and then they're all gone. So a bit of that. I was trying to get my hands on a very interesting piece of technology that is designed in Quebec, which is an electric machine. It's like a snow dog, but it works in all seasons.
Oh, wow.
And I think it would be a super handy thing to showcase.
Wow.
Yeah, a little bit of this, a little bit of that. More chickens this summer, hatching chicks out, gardening, maybe pigs. So we'll see. Wow. There's always something on the go.
Yeah, and guys, if you haven't already, go ahead and subscribe to One WildCrafter. And what I found out, again, Professor Jeremy is just so humble. He also has a Patreon that you can go ahead and help him.
Yeah.
Help him out, because content creating isn't as easy as it looks. And it really isn't.
No.
And help him out on his Patreon. Go ahead and subscribe to his Patreon as well.
Thanks for that.
Karloff off the grid. I think I said hello to you. Prep your family. Hello. I don't know if I said hello to you, but great to see you. Prep your family says going to our site to start building a shelter off a cave in the area where we have found. Oh, wow. See? Whoa.
Yeah, that's cool.
Building a cave.
We don't really have caves around here. We don't have the right kind of stone for it, I think, because we're not on limestone. We're on granite. It's all like formed by magma. Not caves are usually from water moving through limestone, right?
Yeah, you know. So, at any rate, guys, we are about to call it a night. Thank you, everyone, for contacting us and getting into our chat and the questions. You know, I hope we've answered all the questions. You know, last call for questions is if you have a question, go ahead and post it. You know, we only have 18 people, 19 people, but that's okay. You know, if we had 2 or 3, we'll still do this for, you know, until we exhaust all of the time.
Yeah.
Let's see. Any additional questions, comments? And if not, that's okay. And I want to say once again, thank you so much.
Oh, you're very welcome.
Jeremy from One WildCrafter.
Thanks for having me on.
Oh, yes. You know, be on the lookout for his videos and his collaborations, which are, I think, you know, it's the collaborations I watch all of the time, 2, 3, 4, 5 times, you know. And so let's see. Thank you very much. Thank you, moderators. Thank you, channel members. Thank you, channel supporters. Thank you, channel followers, for being here. And you guys take care. Be safe. Please be safe and take care. Professor, God bless you. Take care now.
Thank you so much. Good night, everybody. Thank you so much.
Good night. Good night. Good night.